Princess Zara stood tall on the command bridge of her massive warship. The crystal walls around her glowed with soft blue light. Her royal guards wore their finest armor, polished until it shined like mirrors. Today was important. Today, humans would step onto her ship for the first time in 20 years. The Crystalline Empire had avoided humans for decades. Most alien races feared them. Humans were fighters. They were stubborn. They never gave up, even when they should. The galaxy whispered stories about human wars and human courage. Some said humans were crazy. Others said they were dangerous. Zara pressed her hand against the cool crystal window. In the distance, 3 human ships moved closer. They were smaller than her vessel but looked strong and well-built. Admiral Keck stood beside her, his 4 arms crossed over his chest. "Your Highness, we should be careful," Admiral Keck said. His voice was deep and rough. "Humans are not like us. They think differently. They act without thinking." Zara nodded but kept watching the approaching ships. "The message said they want peace, Admiral. They need our help." "That makes them more dangerous, not less," Admiral Keck replied. "Desperate humans are the worst kind." General Voss stepped forward from behind them. She was older than Admiral Keck and had fought in many battles. "Princess, my soldiers are ready. If these humans try anything, we will protect you." "I know you will," Zara said softly. "But let us give them a chance first." The human ship stopped near her flagship. Zara watched as a small shuttle left one of their ships and flew toward her vessel. Her heart beat faster. She had studied humans from far away but never met one face to face. What would they look like? How would they act? Minutes later, her communication officer spoke up. "Your Highness, the human shuttle is requesting permission to dock." "Granted," Zara said. Admiral Keck moved closer to her. "Princess, perhaps you should wait in your private chambers. Let us meet them first." Zara shook her head. "No. I am the ruler of this empire. If they want to speak with us, they will speak with me." The docking bay doors opened with a soft hiss. Through the monitors, Zara could see the human shuttle land inside her ship. It was painted white and blue with strange symbols on its sides. The landing was smooth and careful. "How many humans are coming aboard?" Zara asked. "Sensors show 5 life forms in the shuttle," the officer replied. 5 humans. Zara tried to imagine what they would look like. She had seen pictures and videos, but meeting someone in person was always different. Humans were smaller than her people but moved faster. They had only 2 arms and 2 legs, unlike most other races in the galaxy. "Your Highness," Admiral Keck said again. "Please reconsider. Let me handle this meeting." "Admiral, you worry too much," Zara said. But inside, she felt nervous too. What if the stories about humans were true? What if they really were as violent as everyone said? The minutes passed slowly. Finally, her guards reported that the humans were ready to meet with her. They had gone through security checks and weapon scans. The humans carried no guns or knives, which was a good sign. "Bring them to the main meeting chamber," Zara ordered. The meeting chamber was the most beautiful room on her ship. The walls were made from pure crystal that changed colors based on the light. Soft music played from hidden speakers. Golden chairs were arranged in a circle. Zara hoped the humans would be impressed. She walked to the chamber with her advisors following behind her. Admiral Keck and General Voss stayed close to her sides. Other officials carried data tablets and translation devices, though the humans had said they spoke the common galactic language. Zara sat in her tall chair at the center of the room. It was carved from a single piece of white crystal and decorated with blue gems. She wore her finest robes, made from silk that sparkled like starlight. Her crown sat perfectly on her head, showing everyone that she was the true ruler of the Crystalline Empire. The doors to the chamber opened. Zara held her breath. 5 humans walked into the room. They wore dark blue uniforms with silver buttons and patches. Their boots made soft sounds on the crystal floor. They looked around the room with wide eyes, clearly amazed by the beauty of the crystal walls. 4 of the humans were younger. They stayed behind their leader as he stepped forward. The leader was taller than the others and walked with confidence. He wore a helmet that covered his face completely. Admiral Keck stood up from his chair. State your names and purpose. The human leader stopped a few feet from Zara's chair. His voice was clear and strong when he spoke. I am Commander Ben of the Earth Defense Force. We come seeking friendship and aid from the Great Crystalline Empire. Zara studied the human carefully. She could not see his face behind the helmet, but his voice sounded kind. Not angry or threatening like she had expected. I am Princess Zara, she said. Ruler of the Crystalline Empire. What kind of aid do you seek? Commander Ben reached up and began to remove his helmet. Your Highness, a terrible sickness has spread through our colonies. Many humans are dying. We have heard that your people possess healing crystals that could save them. The helmet came off slowly. Zara watched as the human's face was revealed bit by bit. First his chin, then his mouth, then his nose, and finally his eyes. When she saw those eyes, everything changed. Time seemed to stop. The room became silent. Zara's breath caught in her throat. She gripped the arms of her chair so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Those eyes. She knew those eyes. They were brown and kind, with small lines around the edges from smiling. They looked at her with the same gentle expression she remembered from long ago. The same eyes that had looked down at her when she was scared and alone. Memories rushed back like a flood. She was 7 years old again, trapped and frightened. She could smell smoke and hear the sound of breaking metal. She could feel the cold of space pressing in around her. Admiral Kex noticed her reaction immediately. Your Highness. Are you well? Zara could not speak. She stared at Commander Ben, and slowly, his eyes widened too. Recognition dawned on his face as well. He looked at her more carefully, seeing past her crown and royal robes to the child he had once saved. Princess, he whispered, so quietly that only she could hear. General Voss stepped forward, worried by the strange silence. What is happening here? Zara's hands shook. This was impossible. Out of all the humans in the galaxy, how could it be him? How could the man standing before her be the same person who had changed her life forever? She thought back to that terrible day 23 years ago. She had been traveling with her parents to a peace meeting with another alien race. Their ship had been attacked by pirates who wanted to steal their cargo of precious crystals. The attack had been sudden and violent. During the fight, her transport pod had been damaged. It had crashed on a small moon where both human and pirate ships were fighting. She had been trapped under twisted metal, scared and crying for her parents. Then he had found her. A young human soldier with kind brown eyes and a gentle voice. He had worked for hours to free her from the wreckage, even though pirates were still nearby. Even though it was dangerous for him to stay. Little princess, he had called her, trying to make her smile while he worked. Don't be scared. I'm going to get you out of here. He had shared his water and food with her. He had told her funny stories about his home planet Earth. He had promised her that everything would be okay, and somehow, she had believed him. When her rescue ships finally arrived, he had already gone. He had left her safe and warm under his own coat, with a small metal tag that had his name on it. She had kept that tag for years, treasuring it as a reminder that not all strangers were enemies. Now, sitting in her royal chamber, Zara could barely believe that the same person stood before her. Commander Ben looked older now, with gray in his hair and new lines on his face. But his eyes were exactly the same. Kind and brave and full of compassion. Admiral Kex was speaking, but Zara could not hear the words. Her heart was beating too fast. Her mind was spinning with questions and emotions. How had he become a commander? Had he saved other people over the years? Did he remember her? Did he know that his kindness had shaped her into the ruler she became? Commander Ben cleared his throat and spoke to the room. Your Highness, we understand that this is a difficult request. Humans and your people have not spoken in many years. But our need is great. His voice brought Zara back to the present. She realized that everyone was watching her, waiting for her to respond. Her advisors looked concerned. The other humans looked hopeful but nervous. Zara took a deep breath and tried to find her voice. As a princess, she had been trained to handle any situation with grace and dignity. But this was different. This was personal in a way that no royal training could prepare her for. Tell me more about this sickness, she said finally. Her voice sounded strange to her own ears. Commander Ben nodded. It began 6 months ago on our outer colonies. People develop a fever that will not break. Their skin becomes pale and they grow weak. Our doctors have tried everything, but nothing works. We have lost thousands already. And you believe our healing crystals can help? Admiral Kex asked. Our scientists studied your crystals that were left behind after old trade agreements, Commander Ben replied. They believe the crystal's energy can fight the sickness. But we need many crystals, and we need them quickly. General Voss leaned forward. What do you offer in return? Commander Ben looked directly at Zara when he answered. Friendship. Alliance. Whatever your people need, if it is in our power to give. The room fell quiet again. Zara knew that her next words would be very important. They would affect not just the humans who were sick, but the relationship between their two peoples for years to come. But all she could think about was a frightened little girl and the brave young soldier who had saved her life. Princess Zara excused herself from the meeting chamber. Her heart was beating so fast she thought everyone could hear it. She told Admiral Kex to continue talking with the humans while she considered their request. But really, she needed time to think about what she had just discovered. In her private quarters, Zara sat on her bed and closed her eyes. The memories came flooding back like waves crashing on a shore. 23 years ago, she had been Princess Zara, but she was only 7 years old. Her parents, the king and queen, had decided to take her on a diplomatic mission to the Outer Rim. It was supposed to be a simple peace meeting with the Reptilian Council. This will be good for you, little star, her mother had said while braiding her long silver hair. You will learn how to speak with other leaders. Young Zara had been excited. She wore her favorite blue dress and carried her stuffed crystal animal. The royal transport ship was beautiful, with walls that sparkled and rooms full of soft pillows. She had spent hours looking out the windows at the stars. Everything changed when they reached the neutral zone near Kepler Station. Pirates attacked without warning. Their ships were dark and fast, appearing out of nowhere like hungry wolves. The royal guards fought bravely, but there were too many enemy vessels. Get the princess to the escape pods, her father had shouted over the sound of explosions. Captain Rex, her personal guard, had grabbed young Zara and run toward the emergency section. But another blast shook the ship. The lights went out. Emergency sirens screamed in the darkness. Zara remembered falling. She remembered the sound of metal breaking and the feeling of cold air rushing past her face. When she woke up, she was trapped. The escape pod had crashed on a small moon. Metal beams pinned her legs. She could not move. Outside, she could hear the sound of fighting. Laser blasts lit up the dark sky like deadly fireworks. She had cried for her parents. She had called for Captain Rex. But nobody answered. Hours passed. The fighting continued around the moon. Sometimes ships would fly overhead, casting shadows across the wreckage. Zara grew cold and hungry. She was scared that nobody would find her. Then she heard footsteps outside the broken pod. Hello, called a voice. Is someone in there? Zara had been afraid to answer. What if it was a pirate? What if they wanted to hurt her? Please don't be scared, the voice said. It was gentle and kind. I'm here to help. A face appeared at the hole in the pod's wall. It was a young human man with brown eyes and sandy hair. He wore the uniform of the Earth Defense Force. He looked tired and dirty, but he smiled when he saw her. Hey there, little princess, he said softly. Looks like you're stuck. I can't move, Zara had whispered. The metal is too heavy. The human soldier crawled partway into the pod. His name tag read Ben Walker. He looked at the metal beams carefully, then at her trapped legs. This is going to take some work, Ben said. But don't worry. I'm not going anywhere. For the next 4 hours, Ben had worked to free her. He used tools from his pack to cut through the twisted metal. He was careful not to hurt her. When she got scared by the loud cutting sounds, he told her stories about his home planet Earth. We have these animals called dogs, Ben said while working. They're furry and friendly. When I get home, I'm going to get a dog and name him Rocket. Why Rocket? Young Zara had asked. Because he'll be fast, Ben laughed. Faster than any spaceship. Ben shared his water with her when she got thirsty. He gave her half of his emergency food rations. When she shivered from the cold, he took off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. Won't you be cold? She had asked. Humans are tough, Ben said with a wink. We don't mind the cold. But Zara could see him shivering as he worked. While Ben cut through the metal, he told her about Earth. He described blue oceans and green forests. He talked about cities with tall buildings and farms with golden fields. He made Earth sound like a magical place. Why are you helping me? Zara had asked. You don't even know me. Ben stopped working and looked at her seriously. Because that's what people do. We help each other. It doesn't matter if you're human or alien or anything else. When someone needs help, you help them. Finally, after hours of careful work, the last piece of metal came free. Ben gently pulled Zara from the wreckage. Her legs hurt, but nothing was broken. There you go, little princess, Ben said, setting her down safely. Free as a bird. In the distance, they could hear ships approaching. Ben looked up at the sky and smiled. Those sound like rescue ships. Your people found you. Zara had clung to his jacket, not wanting him to leave. Will you come with me? I want my parents to meet you. Ben shook his head gently. I have to get back to my unit. They'll be worried about me. But I want to thank you properly, Zara said. You saved my life. Ben knelt down so he was at her eye level. He took off his name tag and pressed it into her small hands. Keep this to remember me by. And remember what I told you about helping people. The rescue ships landed nearby. Zara could hear her parents calling her name. Captain Rex was running toward them with tears in his eyes. Go on, Ben said, giving her a gentle push toward her family. They've been looking for you. Zara ran to her parents but turned back to wave goodbye. Ben was already walking away, disappearing into the shadows between the rocks. She never saw him again. Until today. Now, sitting in her royal quarters, Princess Zara opened her jewelry box. Inside, wrapped in silk, was Ben's name tag. She had kept it all these years. Sometimes, when she faced difficult decisions as a ruler, she would hold it and remember his words about helping people. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Admiral Kex entered the room, looking worried. Your Highness, we need to discuss the human request, he said. This could be a great opportunity for our empire. What do you mean? Zara asked, though she already knew what he was thinking. Admiral Kex's 4 eyes gleamed. The humans are weak right now. They're desperate. We could demand a very high price for our crystals. We could ask for technology, territory, trade agreements heavily in our favor. They're dying, Admiral, Zara said quietly. Yes, which means they'll agree to almost anything, Admiral Kex replied. Your Highness, chances like this don't come often. The humans have resources we need. Their planets have minerals we want. This sickness could be our way to finally gain the upper hand in this region of space. General Voss entered the room behind him. Princess, my intelligence officers have been analyzing the human fleet. They brought only 3 ships. Their weapons are old. They're clearly not planning to fight us. They're completely at our mercy. Zara stood up and walked to her window. Outside, she could see the human ships waiting patiently. They looked so small compared to her massive warship. What are our options? She asked. We could demand exclusive mining rights on 5 human worlds, Admiral Kex suggested. Plus their latest medical technology and 50 years of favorable trade agreements. Or, General Voss added, we could refuse them entirely. Let the sickness run its course. When they're weak enough, we could move in and take what we want by force. Zara felt sick listening to their words. These were her most trusted advisors, but they sounded like the pirates who had attacked her ship years ago. There is a third option, she said slowly. What option is that? Admiral Kex asked. We could help them because it's the right thing to do. The room fell silent. Admiral Kex and General Voss exchanged worried looks. Your Highness, Admiral Kex said carefully, with respect, that would be a terrible mistake. Compassion is a luxury we cannot afford. We rule an empire. We must think about what benefits our people. What benefits our people is being known as honorable, Zara replied. What benefits our people is making allies, not enemies. General Voss stepped forward. Princess, the humans have been our rivals for decades. They've never shown us any special kindness. Why should we show them any? Zara turned to face them. In her hand, she still held Ben's name tag. Because that's what people do. We help each other. Admiral Kex frowned. Your Highness, I don't understand. You seem to have some personal investment in helping these particular humans. Have you dealt with them before? Zara looked down at the name tag. Should she tell them the truth? Should she explain that the human commander had once saved her life? Would they understand, or would they think she was being weak and emotional? Another knock came at the door. A young officer entered and bowed. Your Highness, the human commander is asking if he could speak with you privately. He says it's important. Zara's heart jumped. Ben wanted to see her alone. Did he remember her as clearly as she remembered him? Did he know that the little girl he saved had grown up to become the ruler of a vast empire? Admiral Kex, General Voss, she said, please return to the meeting chamber and keep the other humans comfortable. I will speak with their commander. Your Highness, Admiral Kex protested, it's not safe to meet with him alone. He's not armed, Zara replied. And I'll have guards outside the door. What could one human possibly do to me? After her advisors left, Zara waited nervously. In a few minutes, she would see Ben again. She would finally be able to thank him properly for what he had done. But she was also afraid. What if he didn't remember her? What if the kind young soldier had become hard and cold over the years? The door opened, and Commander Ben walked in alone. Commander Ben stood in the doorway of Princess Zara's private quarters. He looked around the room with curious eyes. The walls were made of pure white crystal that caught the light beautifully. Soft music played from somewhere he could not see. Please, sit down, Princess Zara said, pointing to a comfortable chair near her window. Ben sat down carefully. He seemed nervous, which surprised Zara. In the meeting chamber, he had looked confident and strong. Now he appeared uncertain, almost shy. Your Highness, Ben began, I wanted to speak with you alone because I believe we have met before. Zara's heart skipped a beat. He did remember her. I think so too, she said softly. Ben leaned forward in his chair. 23 years ago, on a small moon near Kepler Station. There was a little girl trapped in a crashed escape pod. Zara reached into her pocket and pulled out the name tag. She held it up so Ben could see it clearly. His eyes widened with recognition and wonder. You kept it, he whispered. I kept it, Zara confirmed. All these years. When I became ruler of this empire, I had it mounted in a special case. Sometimes, when I have to make difficult decisions, I hold it and remember what you taught me. Ben stared at the name tag, then at her face. Little princess, he said, using the same gentle nickname from years ago. You grew up to become an actual princess. Zara smiled, feeling tears in her eyes. You saved my life that day. More than that, you taught me what kindness looks like. You showed me that good people help others, even when it's dangerous or difficult. Ben shook his head humbly. I just did what anyone would do. No, Zara said firmly. You did what good people do. There's a difference. She walked to her window and looked out at his ships. Tell me about your life, Ben Walker. What happened after you left me that day? Ben was quiet for a moment. I returned to my unit. We finished our mission on that moon. Later, I heard that a princess of the Crystalline Empire had been rescued safely. I was glad to know you were okay. And then? Zara asked. I continued serving in the Earth Defense Force. I got promoted several times. I led missions to protect human colonies from pirates and raiders. Nothing too exciting. Zara turned back to face him. You're being modest. I researched human military records after I became ruler. Commander Ben Walker has saved hundreds of lives over the years. You've rescued colonists from disasters, protected trade ships from attacks, and helped negotiate peace between warring factions. Ben looked surprised. You researched me. I wanted to know what happened to the brave soldier who saved a scared little girl, Zara explained. I found reports of your missions. You have a reputation for going above and beyond to help people. Just like you did for me. Ben looked down at his hands. I was just doing my job. No, Zara said again. You were doing what you believed was right. There's a difference. They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Outside the window, stars twinkled in the darkness of space. Both of them were thinking about that day long ago when a young soldier and a frightened child had met under terrible circumstances. Ben, Zara said finally, I need to ask you something important. If I give you the healing crystals your people need, what will you do with them? Ben looked up at her. We'll use them to save lives. We'll cure the sick and make sure the plague doesn't spread to other worlds. And after that? Ben was quiet for a moment, thinking. We'll remember that the Crystalline Empire helped us when we needed it most. We'll be grateful. We'll want to be friends. Zara nodded. That's what I thought you would say. She walked to her desk and activated a communication device. Admiral Kex's voice came through the speaker. Yes, Your Highness. Admiral, please prepare a formal announcement. I want all department heads to meet in the main conference room in 1 hour. What shall I tell them the meeting is about? Admiral Kex asked. Tell them we're about to make history, Zara replied. An hour later, the main conference room was full. Admiral Kex, General Voss, and 24 other high-ranking officials sat around a large crystal table. The human delegation sat at one end, looking nervous but hopeful. Princess Zara stood at the head of the table. She wore her most formal robes and her crown sparkled under the lights. Today, she began, we face a choice that will define our empire for generations to come. The humans have asked for healing crystals to fight a plague that is devastating their colonies. Admiral Kex nodded. Yes, Your Highness. We've prepared a list of demands in exchange for the crystals. I will not be accepting those demands, Zara said calmly. The room erupted in surprised murmurs. General Voss stood up quickly. Your Highness, surely you're not planning to refuse their request entirely? No, Zara said. I'm planning to exceed it. She turned to face Commander Ben and his delegation. The Crystalline Empire will provide all the healing crystals you need, free of charge. We will also send our best medical experts to help treat the sick. Additionally, we're opening permanent trade relations between our peoples. The humans stared at her in shock. Commander Ben's mouth fell open. Admiral Kex jumped to his feet. Your Highness, this is madness. We're giving away valuable resources for nothing in return. Zara looked at him steadily. We're getting something very valuable in return, Admiral. We're getting the chance to do what's right. She walked around the table, making eye contact with each of her officials. For too long, our empire has been focused on taking advantage of others. We've been known as shrewd traders and tough negotiators. But is that really the reputation we want? General Voss crossed her arms. What reputation would you prefer? I want us to be known as helpers, Zara said. I want other species to look at the Crystalline Empire and think of kindness, generosity, and honor. I want them to know that when they're in trouble, we'll be there to help. She returned to Ben's side. Commander Walker represents more than just humanity. He represents the kind of person I want our empire to be associated with. Someone who helps others without asking for anything in return. Commander Ben stood up slowly. Your Highness, I don't know what to say. This is far more than we hoped for. Say that you'll remember this moment, Zara replied. Say that when other species need help, humanity will be there for them too. Ben nodded firmly. You have my word. Over the following weeks, Crystalline Empire medical ships traveled to human colonies throughout the galaxy. The healing crystals worked perfectly. The plague was cured within days of treatment beginning. Thousands of lives were saved. But something else happened that no one expected. News of Princess Zara's generous decision spread quickly through the galaxy. Other alien species took notice. The Reptilian Council, who had been preparing for war with a neighboring system, suddenly decided to try peaceful negotiations instead. The insectoid hives, known for their aggressive expansion, began offering aid to struggling colonies. The Galactic Trade Federation called an emergency meeting to discuss this new wave of cooperation. Representatives from dozens of species attended. Something has changed, announced Chancellor Vex of the Aquatic Alliance. The Crystalline Empire's actions have inspired others. Species are choosing cooperation over conflict. Ambassador Tom from the feline worlds nodded in agreement. Our intelligence reports show that piracy has decreased by 40% in the last month. It seems that acts of kindness are becoming contagious. The meeting resulted in the formation of the Galactic Cooperation Council, a new organization focused on mutual aid and peaceful problem-solving. Princess Zara was elected as the first chairperson. 6 months later, Princess Zara stood on the bridge of her flagship once again. But this time, she wasn't alone. Ships from 12 different species traveled alongside her vessel. They were heading to the Outer Rim to help rebuild colonies that had been destroyed by natural disasters. Commander Ben had been assigned as the human liaison to the Cooperation Council. He stood beside Zara, watching the stars ahead of them. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we hadn't met again? Ben asked. Zara smiled. I think we would have met eventually. Good people have a way of finding each other. Ben chuckled. You give me too much credit. I was just a soldier doing his job. You were a person choosing to be kind, Zara corrected. That choice changed everything. She pulled out his old name tag, which she still carried with her. When you gave me this, you probably thought it was just a small gesture. But it taught me that helping others is the most important thing we can do. Ben looked at the name tag thoughtfully. I never imagined that saving one little girl would lead to all this. That's the beautiful thing about kindness, Zara said. You never know how far it will spread. As their fleet approached the disaster zone, ships from even more species joined them. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. When people choose compassion over advantage, when they choose helping over hurting, the effects ripple outward like waves in a cosmic ocean. Commander Ben had saved one frightened child 23 years ago. He thought he was just doing what anyone would do. But Princess Zara knew better. He had done what good people do. And now, the entire galaxy was learning to do the same. The little girl who had been trapped in that escape pod had grown up to become a leader who valued kindness above all else. The young soldier who had risked his life to save her had shown that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their fighting spirit. It was their willingness to help a stranger in need.